Hello, Melton Guy here. I hope you're doing fine today, and um, I hope that I can inform you of some things today that will help us see a clear picture of what is before us in these next 40 something days before the election. I'm not even going to make this comment like this is the most important election in our history. I'm not going to say that. And that's kind of what this is about. We all know what is what. Sometimes I think the term pride going before a fall is just so much ignored today. And sometimes I think that pride gets in the way of common sense, and pride gets in the way of what we know is right, but will not acknowledge it. I remember back in 1963, after John F. Kennedy was shot and killed by Lee Harvey Oswald. I remember watching the aftermath on TV, the moving around of Lee Harvey Oswald and all the things that are being said, and it's trying to gather everything. But anyway, he was being moved from one section somewhere to another. I mean, after all, I was 13 years old when this took place. And then out of the blue, while they were moving him, a man comes up, pulls a gun, and shoots Lee Harvey Oswald and kills him. Now, we all know that. I mean, we've all seen the pictures, I'm pretty sure. At least some of my age group and below, we've seen that, and it's been on YouTube and television specials, and so we've seen these things. But then, I didn't quite understand the legal system altogether. But we saw him do this, but they had a trial. And rightfully so. They should have had a trial. They handled it right. They had a trial, and I couldn't quite understand what were they trying to determine, because everybody knew who killed Lee Harvey Oswald, a man by the name of Jack Ruby. So I didn't know what they were trying to decide. But in the midst of all their trying and the speeches and by the lawyers and witnesses and all these kind of things, it's in the midst of it, we all know, regardless of what they decide, regardless of what they do and what they say afterwards, we all know that Jack Ruby killed Lee Harvey Oswald. But like I say, they went through the procedure, and that's the way they should have done it. But sometimes it makes it seem senseless. When you go through all of this, everybody's seeing the crime committed, and yet you got to go through all of these procedures. And then there are even some who might even suggest that it didn't happen that way. But lo and behold, we know the truth is before us. In our minds, we know the truth. And that's the way it is today. Now, I'm not trying to say or pretend that I'm the greatest at making segues from one era to another. But in this particular case, I think it is needed. We knew the truth then. At my age of 13, I didn't understand all there was about the legal system, as I said. But regardless of what they came up with, we knew Jack Ruby killed Lee Harvey Oswald. And today, that pride, or whatever you would like to call it, stands in the way of truth just cannot get down to the truth because of pride, politics, hatred. I am so tired of hatred. I watch everything, and I see it from many different points of view. And the one thing that rings out in my mind is the hatred. I'm not talking about between the Democrats and the Republicans. No. At this particular time in history, in our political system, I'm talking about the hatred that spews out of the mouth of the MAGA Republicans. Now, I am not this way, the way I believe, because of things that have happened in my past. No, right is right and wrong is wrong and truth is truth. And when we see it happening, we have to know that it's the truth or the truth of it. We watched the debate and we watched Donald Trump tell some of the most horrific lies. And yet there are still some out there that will not acknowledge that he did so. He lost that debate so badly that any commonsensical person could never say, well, he made a good showing. He did not make a good showing. He lost this debate because he is a man lacking integrity. He can't open his mouth without lying, like I heard just today that he was talking about during the debate. He can't let it go himself. During the debate, how the crowd, the audience was getting very anxious, getting very loud. We all know there was no audience, but he opened his mouth and out came a lie. That is the nature of this man. He is a pathological liar. He has no morals, or if they do, they're no more than that of an alley cat. We have watched him commit crime after crime after crime and still insist that he's immune to whatever punishment anybody else would receive. Truth is out there. We can't say we do not know the truth. I'll go back to a favorite of mine when he made that perfect call to Georgia. How he tried to coerce the officials there into changing the outcome of the election. Outright, boldly. And then come back and say, well, it was a perfect call. That was the natural thing to do. You know the truth. You will not, some of you will not say it for that reason that I can't put my finger on, call it pride or whatever. I can't put my finger on it. But this man broke the law. He should have been arrested that day. And in times past, anybody that tried to do that would have been arrested for treason. Or what other crime can you think of that he committed that day? We watched him incite a riot that became an insurrection, and found out later that this was something that didn't just happen. He intended for it to happen. We saw some of the different Republicans from different states bring in a slate that was supposed to be the slate of electoral votes from that state, and they were false. They were made up. It was a phony. And we let that slide. Some people ought to be in prison for that, and would have been many years ago. Not, I say many years ago, not that many years ago. But we let it slide. Truth is not what it used to be. It's not respected the way it used to be. I watch all these political ads. I'm not saying that all the political ads that the Democrats make, that Kamala Harris is making, are right on target. They mostly are. But she's presenting issues mainly of what she's going to do. But you look at the other ads, and the ads in my state, they make up lies. They are not true. They go back and show a gas pump from many years ago. They do not take into account what has happened and how things have changed. And it presents like an economy that does not exist. Matter of fact, it was an economy that I can't remember existing, but they make it look so badly, and they do it on purpose. It's a lie, an outright lie. I haven't seen a political ad, one of those ads where Donald Trump says, I'm Donald Trump and I endorse, or whatever they say, this ad. I haven't seen one that told the truth. It's all a pack of lies. And I don't know who you are. And I don't know how you got where you are. I know how I got where I am. And it's not because I've had some ups and downs in my life and with anything. It's because I still know the truth and I still know a lie, especially when I see it with these two organs right here. When Bill Clinton was caught, I was a Democrat then. When he was caught doing what he did, and I'll be the first one to admit, probably one of the most immoral presidents we've ever had. But when he was caught, I acknowledged that he was caught. And I called him out for it. Except for those slates of people who are changing their minds about Donald Trump and coming out and filling out rosters and petitions saying they are going to vote for Kamala Harris. These Republicans that used to work for George W. Bush, who, by the way, is a coward, who will not endorse a candidate, although he knows in his mind that Donald Trump is so dangerous. And yes, I'll say that. Donald Trump is dangerous. And therein lies another problem. They create a situation where guns are all over the place. Now, I'm not talking about pistols and shotguns. I'm talking about AR-15s and all these other high-powered kind of weaponry, military style. They put it all out there. And now that when Donald Trump, these attempts, especially this last one, this alleged attempt, they're trying to put it off on Democrats, on Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, because they're saying bad things about Donald Trump. And they never said anything that wasn't the truth. And I will not be stopped from saying the truth. They brought it on themselves. They're talking about there was a rifle within the area where Donald Trump was playing golf. Well, if they'd looked around, because of the way they have made things, had checked around closer than what they did, they might have found several rifles in the area. Because every Tom, Dick, and Harry that wants one these days can find a way to get one, and it's because of Republicans. And I don't know how you justify the idea that it's all right for you to go buy an AR-15 and take it home and keep it in your home. Why? Because truth is not respected. And I'm going to say this. We cannot live in a society where a man like Donald Trump has his way in everything. And they're talking about him being called Hitler. Even his vice president called him that. I am a student of the Third Reich. Have been for decades. It was a subject that interests me, and I studied it thoroughly. I know more than what I want to know. But I'm going to tell you what, Donald Trump's words, Donald Trump's actions, this 2025 project, I cannot be surprised when there might be somebody out there that maybe talks too much or a little loudly and calls this man Hitler-like. Even J.D. Vance even went farther than that and said he's America's Hitler. Then all of a sudden now he's going to be vice president under a man he called America's Hitler. Why? Because truth. Truth is not respected in this country the way it used to be. And we cannot live in a society with a man like Donald Trump getting anything he wants. And we cannot live in a society where truth is not upheld as the bottom line, deciding, determining factor in all things. From your Bible to your church, to your home, to government, to political rallies, to political organizations. Truth must be king. And I'll leave it like this. There should never have come a time in our history in this country where truth is not the rule, but rather is the exception. Truth must always be the rule, never the exception. If you will, give me a thumbs up, give me a like, subscribe to my podcast. This was an all of a sudden thing today. My wife, keeping on target, has gone to pick up our granddaughter from school because they had a threat at the school. And whilst my wife was out, I decided to do this. And speaking of my wife, her book, Leaving Small Town by Sue Guy, find it on Amazon. My book, The Offspring of Ignorance, also found on Amazon by J. Melton Guy. And if you will, go out, purchase these. I would appreciate it. My wife would certainly appreciate it. I want you to remember people like Tennessee Brando and Midas Touch Network, Rachel Maddow, Mr. Dollamore, of course. They're going to tell you the truth. You may not like what they say, but I'll assure you, you can fact check them. You can fact check them. And I ask you to also watch those and more, and you also watch Fox, as I always say, and you fact check them. Do your fact checking on all of them. But be sure when you're doing that fact checking, you include Fox, because that will be the most work, I'll assure you. I hope all of you have a wonderful week, and I'll see you next time with a more pleasant subject, I hope. Get out and register if you haven't registered. If you have, make sure you vote. Early voting is coming up. And I'm telling you to go out there and vote for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. Let's put an end to this lunacy that this man, Donald Trump, has brought to this country and has made truth the exception rather than the rule. Goodbye.